In geometry, we work with lines, angles, and different shapes. Every line, angle, or shape you work with will be given a name. If you have to draw a diagram, you will need to name it as well. We name diagrams using capital letters. As an example, we can draw a straight line and name it A, B. We always use capital letters and we write the letter on each side of the straight line. If you have two or more lines, the point where the lines meet is called a vertex. Vertex is singular, so you have to draw one vertex, but the plural is vertices. So if we have lines touching in more than one place, we are working with vertices. Let's draw another line. Now we have two lines that intersect. Let's call this diagram A, B, C. A is at the one side of the straight line, B is at the vertex, and C is on the other end of the line. Even though they touch, we are working with two separate lines. We name the lines in alphabetical order by the letters at their edges. So in this case, we have line AB and we have line BC. We draw a semicircle inside the vertex to show the angle. There are three ways that you can name an angle. The first way is by using the names of the lines that create it. So in this case, we have angle ABC. Remember that the letter of the vertex always goes in the middle. We also put a cap on the middle letter that looks like an arrowhead. This shows us that the angle lies at vertex B. The second way is to name it using just the letter of the vertex. So in this case, we can call our angle angle B, but make sure to put the cap above B when talking about the angle. This helps us show when we are talking about angle B and when we are talking about vertex B. The third way is to use a single lowercase letter. So let's call our angle lowercase b. Please just keep in mind that when using lowercase letters, we write them on the diagram inside the angle. So we can write our B over here. This is a very simplistic version of an angle, but you will work more with diagrams that look like this. Here, four lines intersect at vertex B, and in geometry and trigonometry, you will need to find the sides of an angle. Let's say that we want to find the angle that lies between DB and BE. Let's mark this angle in red. How do we refer to this angle in maths? There are two ways. First, you can name the angle by the lines that create it, just like we did in our previous example. Here, line DB and BE intersect to create this part of the angle. We can call the angle DBE. But there is another way. We can use a subscript. When we worked with exponents in algebra, we looked at squares and cubes. We wrote a number as a base, and then we wrote the exponent in the top right-hand corner. So if we want to write x squared, we write x with a small 2 in the top right-hand corner. A subscript uses the same idea, except now we write the small number in the bottom right-hand corner. A subscript is part of a name, so you don't need to do any calculations when working with a subscript. In the diagram, angle B is the whole blue angle. So let's call the first section B1, and we write it like this. The large capital B is the base, and the small number 1 is the subscript. This shows us we are working with one section of the whole of angle B. So let's call the first section of angle B B1 in our diagram as well. Angle B is divided into three sections. So let's name the middle section B2 and the last section B3. You will see more examples of how we use subscripts in upcoming videos. In this video, I would like to focus on different types of angles. The size of an angle can range from 0 to 360 degrees. Let's draw a straight line and another line on top of it. There is no space between these two lines, so the angle is 0 degrees. But if we take the top line and we rotate it all the way around until it lies on the original line again, the angle is now 360 degrees. To make it easier, we can divide the circle into 4 sections. If we rotate our line upwards so that it lies perpendicular to the original line, we have created a 90-degree angle. If an angle is greater than 0 but smaller than 90 degrees, we call it an acute angle. A 90-degree angle is called a right angle, and we draw it using a square angle like this. If we carry on rotating this line so we can create a longer straight line, we now have a 180-degree angle. If we have an angle greater than 90 degrees but smaller than 180 degrees, we call this an obtuse angle. Remember that any straight line always creates a 180-degree angle. We can carry on rotating our line until it becomes perpendicular to the original line once again. This angle is 270 degrees. And finally, we can continue back to the original line, again creating 360 degrees. Any angle that is greater than 180 and smaller than 360 degrees is known as a reflex angle. Please keep the names and sizes of these angles in mind when working with this section.